the role of media in introducing the artistic and cultural products. And we are very pleased that today's interesting lecture will be presented by one of the TRT world experts, Ms. Nursina Teter. I would like to welcome and thank our esteemed speaker for accepting our invitation. And let me read a brief bio of our today's speaker. Ms. Nursina holds an associate's degree in Spanish language and translation, a bachelor degree of arts, English language and literature from Iden University. She is certificated from London University on narrative non-fiction short course. Currently, Ms. Nursina is working as a deputy producer at TRT World and as an arts reporter. She is reporting on literature-focused stories for TRT World daily program and showcase. Ladies and gentlemen, our session will last for 1 hour. 40 minutes will be for our speaker to present her lecture, and 15 minutes for question-answer session. Please kindly mute your microphones and open your cameras if it's possible. Now I would like to give the floor to Ms. Nursina to make her presentation. Ms. Nursina, the floor is all yours. Could you please open your microphone?
Yes, it is on now.
Thank
Hello.
you.
Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. It's a pleasure to be able to talk to you. First of all, thank you everyone for being here. So I'm going to talk about my own experience as an arts and culture producer or reporter. I've been doing this for the last 5 years, and I wanted to talk about some practical, I don't want to say advice, but it's my experience, what I have been doing and what works for me and my team. Because I think a lot of people, especially a lot of students, can find good theoretical facts about media and journalism, but when it comes to actually doing the job, I think you need to have some practical advice. You need to know how it's done. So I'm going to talk about what I'm doing. But before all that, I want to make something clear. What we're doing is actually very different from news reporting and news journalism. And whenever I say this, I never mean anything good or bad for either of those. It's just completely different. And if you have a mindset of, you know, if you're interested in any of the art topics, fantastic. But if you're not naturally really interested in this field, it'll be extra difficult for you, I think, because at the core of it, this is storytelling. What you're doing is you're not just a vessel, but you're actually a character in the story. So your personality is also in the script, in the story that you're telling. So you need to have a lot of respect. You need to have a lot of interest in the topics that you're writing about. So that's the very first thing I always say to anyone who has any questions about what I'm doing. I always say, well, you sound interested, but do you actually go about and read the culture and art section in any newspaper? If you're not, it's going to be a bit difficult for you. So that's the first thing I always say, anyone who's interested in this field. The other thing is that you need to have a curiosity, you need to have passion, you need to have, because again, this is thankfully not a heavy topic. You're not covering politics, you're not covering diplomatic issues, you're not covering economics or health crises. This is a fun topic where you get to be yourself and, you know, write whatever you like. So you need to be curious. You need to be able to say, well, I would like to hear more about that, whatever that is. In my case, that has always been books. I've studied, like she said, I've studied literature at Istanbul University, and I've always been a bookworm. And books and stories, they hold a certain amount of magic for me. And I always wanted to make other people interested in books. So that's how I ended up being a part of TRT World community. So let me talk about the program that I'm working on. It's called Showcase. I hope you guys know. This is a daily arts and culture program. It's a TRT World program. It's half an hour show. We do it every night. And we cover usually contemporary art, classical art, films, discussions, literature. But again, these are not the executive decisions that you're going to make. Hopefully, these things have already been decided before you went aboard. You need to know the topics that your team are interested in telling. For instance, we don't usually do food topics. You might say that, well, I mean, arts and culture is a big umbrella, right? You can fit a lot of topics, a lot of subgenres in there actually. But at the end of the day, it's an editorial decision. And you need to know your companies, your platforms, your channels shoulds and shouldn'ts about content writing, so that you don't waste your time, so that you're channeling your energy and efforts in the best possible way. So first thing is to be observant when you join a team. Look around. What's the kind of storytelling that they're after? What are the topics that they want you to tell? And those things have always helped me find my footing. So I've said have curiosity. This has always helped me, because even the first time I pitched my first story for Showcase for this arts program, I knew what I wanted to do, because I was already reading so much about the publication industry, or books, or writers, or classical art. So have a clear mindset. Pick one field, maybe two, but I always say pick one specific field for you. And I think it should be the one that you're most excited about, and pursue that. Some people, I have friends who are interested in film industry, and they know everything about it. And whenever we have a story about, whenever there's an assignment about film industry, we know it's their cup of tea, and it'll be a fantastic storytelling. So you need to brand yourself in that way. Your team should be able to say, when they see a kind of story, they should be saying, this is your job. That's, you tell this. So you need to kind of work on your own branding. And again, you need to know about yourself, your interests, and your skills to be able to do that. Because if you were working for news, of course you can study about anything and write about many topics. But with arts and culture, again, you're not just stating facts, right? You're telling a story, you're having fun with it. So it needs to come from you, whoever you are, whatever you do, whatever it is your characteristic. So I think that's very important, to pick one field and pursue that. For me, that's books. I always try to bring a literary angle to whatever I'm doing, because that makes me excited. And I know that's my power to make other people excited about that. So I can use that. You need to know your skills and the company's needs. It's a bit of a strategic move, but then you'll have a very good match. The next thing I'm going to say is that we said that you're not news, you're arts and culture, so have fun. But also you need to know, you need to make the clear distinction that you're not showbiz. Showbiz is very different from arts and culture. So, for instance, we're not covering what's happening with Johnny Depp right now. I'm sure many of you are following it on social media. He's having trials with his ex-wife. There are rumors that he beat him while they were married. In my opinion, it has merit, that story, because of it's a wider discussion in the movie industry, but we're not showbiz. We're focusing on more academic storytelling styles. So what we're focusing on, for instance, one of the latest projects I did was about this art exhibition in Russia, and why it was interested and why it was important to talk about it, because it had an historical importance for Russia, and this is happening in the middle of a pandemic. So you need to have a clear mind of who you are as a company, as a platform. Again, these are not the executive decisions that you are going to make. They have already been decided by other people. You just need to know these, talk, ask, just make a very clear picture in your head, who you are and what you can write, so that you're not wasting any time. So that I think I'm going to talk about my daily routine, and from production companies or channels or platforms to platforms, this can change. To me, this is my daily routine, but if you have an extended period, this might be your week, your month. It depends on whatever you're doing and what kind of position you're in. But I need to be able to pitch stories every single day. I need to come up with an exciting story to my executive producers, to my editors, say, here's the story, I believe in this, I'm going to write about this, and this is going to be my angle. I'm going to talk about this. These are going to be my top topics, and then I'm going to answer these questions. But here, before everything else, again, the first thing I've said comes into play. You need to be very interested in the arts field, because before everything else, before I have to study for my pitches, I already know what's happening in the art world. I'm already, by default, interested in this, and I'm already reading on social media and news accounts. So I'm already well aware of what's happening around the world in the arts and culture. So I know what are the stories to tell. I know my company, what they're like to do. I know my skills and what I'm passionate about. So I pick the story accordingly. It's not just like, oh, that's a nice story, I'll tell. No, it doesn't work. You need to be very clear about all of these elements so that you're doing everything efficiently. So I'm reading about stories, and then in the morning I come here and I'm like, all right, I'll do this story, that maybe if they don't like that, I'll change the angle. You need to think about all the possible questions that you're going to get from your executive producers, all the gaps, the facts that they might ask. So before you're pitching it, before you even begin to study for it, you need to know more about the story than maybe the curator of that exhibition, let's say, or the editor of that piece you saw on The Guardian, let's say. You need to know everything that is to know about it. And the next thing is, because this is not printing media, this is TV, you need footage, you need visuals, right? You need pictures according to your script. And in my case, I'm talking about books. What am I going to show? I only have a book cover, right? You need to come up with additional storytelling ways. And if you have any agencies or any stock image websites that you're subscribed to, do that, work on that, find your footage. Because when you're pitching your story, you're also pitching a visual story as well, not just a written story. So that's what I'm doing. I'm finding the footage and the story, and I'm done. I believe in the story. More than believing, I have to respect the story that I'm telling, because what we're doing is very subjective. It's storytelling. It's open to discussion. It's some people might like it, some people hate it. It's very close to your heart. It's your baby. What you're going to make is going to be very personal to you. It's not, again, it's not news. It's not facts. You're not stating facts in order. You're putting your character out. You're putting yourself out. So you're a part of the story. So any criticism, any harsh comment will be a bit sad for you. So in order to tackle that, you need to know everything, but also respect the story before you even pitch it, before you even say, can I do this? So respect the story. You don't go out and say, oh yeah, I'll do this today. No, you need to believe, and you need to think that, why isn't anybody talking about this? I'm going to talk about this. You need to have that idealistic nonsense in your head. You need to have that push, because again, if it's very personal, you need to be able to say, no, I believed in the story. I understand it's not for everyone, but I thought that this was a right story to be told. So you need to have a clear mind, and you need to protect yourself, because as soon as your story is out there, you're a public property. People can comment on you. People say, "Ooh, what's this? I don't like this," right? You do that when you watch TV, when you watch whatever. People can comment on that. So you need to protect your creative mind as well, if you're a creative person. And in this field, you are going to be very creative. Again, you're not stating facts, you're telling a story. So I pitch it, they say, yes, go ahead and write that story for today. So you have 8 hours to do everything, write the script, do the video edit, and arrange all the footage, all the elements of the story for the studios, sounds, everything, so that it is ready for that night's show. What I do next is heavy studying. I pretend that I'm not a professional, but a student. Forget everything you know. Put everything that you can find in a Word file, Pages file, whatever you're using, read them. And here I recommend that you create a playlist. You need to focus. You need to have an academic mind, because you need to come up with a good story. Again, people are not coming to you to learn facts. They're interested in the way you tell things. They're interested in maybe your personality. Maybe if you have a strong voice, maybe people will recognize you after a couple of stories. Hopefully, that will be your goal. And maybe people will say, oh, there's this quirky girl at Showcase TRT World. What's her stance on this topic? I'm going to listen to it. Maybe they're not even interested in the topic that you're talking about, but maybe they're completely interested in you. And that could be the case. Because again, think about this, a very high-end, classy, academical YouTube channel, because you need to have that relaxed position of a YouTube, but the seriousness and the good quality of TV. You need to have a very open mind. When people come to us and say, well, what you're doing is not good for TV, you're like, well, but what we're doing is very unique. Arts and culture has literally have no clear-cut definition. You and your story and your executive producers, they make it what it is. So you can do whatever you like. whatever it is that they've decided. So do whatever you like, but have an academic mind. I always say that. I feel like I haven't graduated from university. I'm learning everything. I'm learning a new thing every single day. And that's fantastic. Again, if you're not in an academic mind, you're not going to like this. You'll dread this. This is hard work. This is not like, oh, that agency wired that footage and that happened, so I'll put 2 and 2 together and that's my story. Nope, I'm sorry, that's not going to work. If that's the kind of thing you are after, you can't do that. You need to sit down and say, all right, so this is the story. What do I want to say? Here, I always make notes. I always write everywhere that know your what and know your why. What are you telling? What is the story? What is the angle? What is the meat? What is the core of the story? The thesis statement, basically. What? And when you know that, you need to answer, why am I telling this what? Why am I telling this? What's my purpose? What do I want the audience to feel or think when they finish watching it? What's the idea? What's the emotion that you want to leave them with? And from story to story, this will change. For instance, today I wrote a news story about a Palestinian artist who lost his leg in a bomb when he was 15. So with that kind of story, you think about, so how am I? So I know what, that's the story. The Palestinian artist who lost his leg, but he's painting fantastic artworks. But what's my why? Why am I telling this story? What is the feeling that I want people to feel, right? And I've decided it was frustration. I didn't want them to feel pity for him. No, how dare you? I didn't want them to get sad, or I don't know. I didn't want anything, that kind of thing. I said, well, he's doing something fantastic with his life. He's very well skilled, but this is a very frustrating thing that's happening to him. So I ended up with the emotion frustration for my why. I know my what, and my why is frustration. I want them to get, when I want people to watch TV, when my story ends, I want people to feel like, I hate this. Why is this happening? I want them to feel something. But in another story, and it was about female solidarity in Hollywood, I wanted people to, when the story ended, I wanted people to shut the TV or whatever they're watching, turn it off, go on their laptops, their phones, and study about feminism and female rights and what's happening in Hollywood. I wanted them to be curious, so I didn't give all the details in that story. I left things out. I wanted to feel them curious. I wanted to feel like, that's an interesting thing that I didn't think of before. Let me see if that's correct. Maybe that girl is wrong. I want them, so you need to know your what before pitching it and your why. Because their executive producer will ask you that. They will say, well, okay, that's a cool story, but why? Why should I give you that screen time? What are you going to do with that? What's the purpose? So know that very well. And this will help you along the way when you're studying, because when you study, I'm sure you all of you know, this happens when you're writing a paper for university as well. When you don't really know why you're doing something, you get washed up by all of these facts and information you find. So you get lost. You don't know what you're doing because you know so much. You're like, oh my God, what was I doing? So before you do your research, if you know your what and your why, you're not going to get confused. You'll know, you're like, oh, that's a fun fact, but no, I'm not interested. Thank you, go away. So in my case, I only have 8 hours, right, to do everything. So I need to be able to read selectively and efficiently. I need to be able to the correct and useful fact very quickly. So my mind is literally filtering all the facts when I'm reading anything. And I read a lot. I don't just read 2 articles and no. Sometimes before doing everything, if I know that I'm going to be assigned to a story, maybe in a week ahead, I start reading books. I start watching documentaries. It's a lot of work. Again, it's not just like, oh, I'll do the story and talk about what happened, why it happened, and how it ended. Nuh-uh. Arts and culture requires you to know everything. You need to respect. You need to know. And again, if you're respecting the story and if you're on screen, and I am on screen, whenever I feel, because we're human, we have emotions and we have insecurities, and TV is a very, you feel exposed, your face is on that story and everyone's going to see it. Oh, it's so scary. So in those moments, if you're in front of a camera, if you're a reporter, if you already know your why, if you already respect the story, I always stop and say, Norsena, this is not about you, honey. This is about the story that you're going to tell. You need to respect that story and pretend that you're a vessel. You're just going to tell it for others. It's not you. Stop fussing and do what's necessary for the story. So I always calm myself down like that. I always say, all right, this is good. I'm feeling like a human, but that's fine. I'm going to put myself out there for the sake of this fantastic story, whatever that is. So the next thing I'm doing after all that reading and research, I slowly do my video edit. So at this point, not every producer does all of this work. So some teams do bits and bobs on their own. They don't have to do all the elements on their own. But I like to do video editing and scripting all myself. So while I'm reading, I haven't, at this point, I haven't written a single word, but in my head, I already know what I'm going to write. Even though my script Word file is completely empty, I know what I'm going to say. So I slowly come to put down all the visuals and have a look through and think about, because again, what you're doing is a visual storytelling. Your script, your words should go perfectly well with the visuals that you're using. I always say that they're a couple, you can't separate them, they're lovers. Script, your words and your visuals, you can't separate them. They need to be together. They need to be working at the same time to have the best effect. And on top of that, if you have a good music or good visual, good sound effects working for that, you have 3 elements working at the same time for the most dramatic effect that you can get. So always have a visual mind. Try to think of it as an audience, not the creator of the story. Again, you're a vessel. It's not about you. Forget that. I sit down and do a bit of a rough editing, and my mind works in a bit visual way, so I need to see the footage, because sometimes I have facts, but before I see the visual, I can't write the script. So I'm looking, I'm researching. Again, here, you need to have a good playlist for that. Whatever works for you. I don't know what kind of music you like, but you will need music to zone out. You need to zone out completely. You're not going to hear anyone. You're not going to take breaks. That moment, reading and doing edit, it's just, I love that moment, because it's complete escapism. That's another topic. So have a look at the visuals you have. And at this point, even though you knew what visuals you were going to use before you pitched, at this point, you might have some problems, not really. You might see that, oh, I need extra footage because I'm going to talk about this fact as well that I didn't know when I pitched, right? Or I didn't want to put in the story when I pitched. So at that moment, it's the time to request or try to find some other footage. Talk to whoever department are in charge of that, sometimes archives, sometimes media managers, whatever it is, whatever the lingo they're using, talk to them and request extra footage. So I'm writing, doing that, and when I see all the footage, it comes to me, all the script. I don't even need to do anything. I don't even need to look at the research Word file. You need to sit down because you're heavily invested in the story at that time. You know it by heart. And this is fantastic, but it's also very dangerous because it means that you might be too much in the story. So you might forget to include things, or it might not be the clearest story. So when you're writing, try to pretend that you're an outsider, you're hearing the story for the first time to see if it makes sense. I mean, imagine the stories you tell to your friends. If you started from the middle, they would get confused. It's like, what are you talking about? What is this? Imagine that you heard it for the first time. And if you can't do that, talk to a friend. Say, please, can you read this and tell me if it makes sense? Is it clear enough? Can you understand what I mean? What do you think I meant? I mean, this is one of the perks of working in media, that you're a part of a big network. A lot of creative people are around you doing exactly the same thing that you're doing, creating. And it's fantastic because they all have different angles and very fantastic ideas. So go have a chat with them. Have kind conversations. Have solidarity. This is teamwork, team effort. Talk to your friends, talk to your script writers and say that, hey, listen, this is the feeling that I want to get from this story and I've written this much. Do you think it works? Again, this also means that you have a bit of time to play with everything. Sometimes you don't have that freedom. Sometimes you're on a tight schedule. That's understandable. But in time, with experience, hopefully, inshallah, that'll come to you. So just have a practice. Do it. I always say, even though it's very hard work, it's not rocket science. It's being a student. Just do it. And if it's bad, do it again. It's as simple as that. So I'm doing all that and I've written this story. Before sending the script, here, what you can do, especially if you're a newbie, if you're just a beginner, what I suggest you do before you send your script to the script editor, to the script doctor, whatever they call it, just read your script and then just see what can be changed in the order of the storytelling. Like, for instance, have you written the story from the beginning? Is the chronological one? Have you started from the middle? And here, according to your why, what kind of emotion you're after from the audience, or what is it that you're after, you can change your storytelling. So, for instance, with that Palestinian artist story, I could start from the beginning. I could say, so it was 2008 and Israeli forces bombed Palestine. And then there was this young boy in the Gaza Strip and he lost his leg, And then I can talk about what he is doing in the middle as an artist. But I could start.
Hello, good, you.
can you mute that? But I could also start from what happened in the middle and say, he was only 15 when he lost his leg. Boom. You'd be like, whoa, what are you, whoa, what's happening? Who lost his, what, why? This is an art program. What is happening? So again, see what works for you. And here, if you are a literary student, if you studied English, if you studied any kind of literature or creative writing courses, this will be very handy. If you don't really know much about creative writing techniques, please have a go and read. Please, again, if that's too boring for you, the easiest solution would be, who's your favorite writer? I don't care about the genre. Find that favorite writer and find your favorite book and read that book, not for the story, but the way they've written it. Try to see the skeletons of the storytelling. Try to see, maybe they started from the middle. Maybe it's an action-packed. Maybe it's a very character development story. Try to see what draws you in as a reader. Because as a reader, if you like one certain storytelling technique, you can use that as a writer yourself. You can say, so I like that kind of storytelling. I'll do that because I think that works. It moved me, so I'll try to move other people with it. Try to learn different literary movements and why they happened and what are the symbolisms and characteristics those people used, because they will help you see a very historical background of it. And with that, it'll open a new world of experimenting. So before I started studying creative writing at university, I never wanted to learn how people were writing books. I didn't want to break that spell of being amazed by storytelling. I didn't want to know, because it felt so medical. I didn't want to know how to do it. It's like, I don't want to learn how to cook my favorite food. I want to eat it. Thank you very much. Don't tell me the recipe. Don't tell me the ingredients. I don't need to know. I just want the food. But with writing, the more I've learned about the different techniques of writing, the more amazed I became of my favorite writers and writing itself. So as a journalist, as an arts producer, reporter, this will help you immensely, because even before you've started to tell or prepare for a story, you'll know what to do. You'll know what kind of storytelling will be best for any kind of content, because you already know, hopefully, you reading about how to write. Like I recommend George Orwell's Why I Write essays. They're fantastic. Just whoever is your favorite writer, again, go and read about writing, because you need to be able to show your voice. You need to show yourself. Who are you? Who is this person that's telling me about this thing that I wasn't even interested in, that I didn't even know? Like, for instance, I've written a story about Edgar Degas' ballerina paintings. And you might be like, well, so that guy, a classical painter, like, okay, why do I care? But I tackled a historical, it's not a drama, but I think it's a sensational question about, did he, why was he so interested in ballerinas? Like, they're just underage girls. What was he doing while they were, playing? So I tackled that. I was like, all the classic paintings that Degas did? You see them everywhere? Well, he might be not that innocent. You need to find your voice. You need to say that this is the story that I would say. This is the story fits perfectly for my CV or my personality. And here, I think one other crucial decision that you might have to make is that, are you going to show yourself as a person in your storytelling, or maybe you might assume another persona, and that's also perfectly fine. Find what works for you and for your company. That's perfectly fine. You might not, you don't have to be whoever you are. Maybe that's too exposing for you, and maybe that doesn't work for you. Maybe your personality is not really good for that kind of assertive voice, that kind of powerful, all-knowing voice. You don't have to be that kind of person. Maybe you need to assume another personality to be able to tell that story. Then you can hide under that personality. And again, it would not be about you. It would be about the story that you respect. You might be just a vessel, and you wouldn't feel exposed. You wouldn't feel vulnerable. Again, know that what you're doing is very vulnerable. It's very creative. Therefore, it's open to criticism. You're a public property. It sounds horrible to say that, but whenever I say that, it wakes me up. I'm like, yeah, so I need to be careful. I want my voice to be heard. I want to be out there, right? Because of this story, but also I'm a human. I want to be known. So you need to have that mental balance as well. If it doesn't work for you. So for the first 2 years of my arts and culture reporting, I assumed a personality. That wasn't me. Whenever I saw my face on screen, I said, huh, that girl again. But it worked because I was so nervous. I said, I can't do this. I can't do this. I cried and cried. So I assumed a personality. I said, well, this woman doesn't cry, and I'm that person now. I'm going to tell this story and go home and cry all I want. I don't care. So I think what we're doing is very, very human, and I love that. I don't see it as a job. I don't see it as a very serious thing. It is serious in a way that you're telling stories that matter, that you respect, that you want them to be heard, but you're having fun with it. And the topics are fantastically enjoyable. You want people to know. You want people, like, whenever I see the news, there's all misery. But when you talk about maybe a painting about little girls, or maybe a book that's about, I don't know, Black women in America, you feel, I did something positive today. I had fun, and it was a good topic. So it's a very millennial in that sense. It's very woke minded, but it helps to create more, to help enthusiasm going, because you need enthusiasm. Because I do this every single day. I read articles after articles, essays after essays every single day. By the end of the day, you don't remember your name, what you were doing, you forget eating, you zone out. It's hard work. So you need to have enthusiasm. You need to be able to say, I can do this for years on end, and I'm going to make a name for my character. I'm going to make a storytelling that's very strong. So you read about your topics, you follow Instagram accounts, you make the storytelling your life. You become obsessed with it. But you need to be careful with what you're doing. It shouldn't consume your life, because you need balance. When I was a student, I would always say that I was always receiving things from the outside world, right? You're receiving education, information, but you're never giving out. You're not producing, you're not giving anything out. And when I became a producer, I said, well, it's the opposite now. I'm not receiving anything from the world. I'm always giving out information. So it's just, you need balance. You need to be able to say, this is my reading time. Thank you. I'm going to read about this article, and I'm going to fill myself with more inspiration. Try to read your favorite writers and also the writers that you hate. For instance, I try to read very, very awful books every now and then, like awful books, bad storytellings. Why? I want to see what does not work for me. Why do I not like that book? What's wrong? Lots of people like it. What's wrong with me? I'm not a snob, but I need to see the storytelling, because when you're in a cycle of a storytelling, you forget. You forget other things exist. You need to know other kinds. You need to diversify your palette in that sense. Um, I'm just checking my notes because, um, yeah, you need to. Oh, also, the other thing is that if you're in the arts field, again, this is not a decision that you can make, but hopefully it has already been made for you, that you need to know if your platform assumes that your audience knows as much, at least as much as you do before you tell a story. For instance, if I think that my audience don't know who Edgar Degas is, do I start my storytelling introducing him? Do I say, all right, so there was this French painter in the 19th century, he did this, he had these political ideas? Do I start from the scratch every single time when I want to tell a story? Sometimes that's the case. That's not, there's no right and wrong here. Again, that's a decision that your platform, that your channel company has made already. So you need to know that. What are you assuming? So we at Showcase assume that our audience knows at least as much as we do. So you can get to the meat of the story immediately. You don't have to think, oh, nobody knows what era this is. I need to talk about this writing style. Oh, they don't know this publishing house. No, I don't have to care about that, because that's a decision we've already made. And also, the beauty of arts media is that news audience is basically everyone, right? It's me, you, anyone, because we just want to learn what's happening around the world. It's just a fact. But arts audience is different. It doesn't necessarily anyone that want to know what's happening, I don't know, in contemporary art in Beijing. It's very niche, it's very special, and you will have a very certain amount of audience, and you will know who is watching you from the responses that you get. So the beauty of it is that you don't have to explain everything, because you know that they're specifically coming for your content, not for everyone. It's as simple as that. But again, it might not be the case for your company, for the team that you're working. Know what you're assuming, because when you're writing a script, that will make it very easy for you to come up with the writing style. It's not an essay, even though you attack it as if it was. You take it seriously as if it was an essay. It's not an essay. You can't start telling everything from the beginning. So I don't know how much time we have. I'm terrible with timing. But
Maybe still 5 minutes
sorry?
if you want. 5 minutes? Extra 5 minutes.
So by the way, I don't know, is everybody a student in the art field or in journalism? That would be fantastic if you could, I don't know, write anywhere. I don't know if I'm allowed to ask that. Sorry.
Sure, yes. They can write it in the chat box.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Like,
Yes.
because I feel like we're bonding here. I really want to get to know who are these fantastic young people are and what they're doing. So if you feel free, if you don't want to do that, that's fine. If you don't feel comfortable exposing any information, that's completely all right. Fantastic. You're a freelancer, creative. Yes, creative writing. Anyone who's studying writing and literature, best decision I've ever made when I was 18. Honestly, you guys, it helped so much in media. You don't have to learn everything. Like you can learn about how to use a software, but what you learn at uni about literature and writing styles and creative writing, that's priceless. Digital media, ooh, fantastic. You guys are so cool. So again, just read. Just know that it never stops. You will always learn something new, and be grateful and be humble and be kind, because this is a very empowering position that you're in, being able to tell a story, especially in this world. It's having a voice that's powerful. Use it well, but be humble. Alhamdulillah, I'm so grateful that I'm able to do this on every single day. And I feel like this is an immense power. Having a platform is an immense power, and try to use it for the things that you think will make a difference in the world. It doesn't even have to be about politics, even just putting a beautiful flower on screen, maybe it'll make a change. I mean, I am romanticizing what I'm doing, but I don't care. Just have fun, be happy with the writing process, because that's the favorite bit. And if you like editing, because I love video editing, that's my favorite bit of doing all of this. That's also fantastic. I volunteered. I didn't have to do that when I first started here. I volunteered. I said, can I also do the videos as well? Because at university, I was that student who always prepared the video presentation. So I said, can I do that, please? Have fun, experiment, be open-minded. If you have criticism from your superiors, don't get it feel emotional. Just see what are they trying to accomplish here. What would happen if I listened to them and changed the story the way they say? Maybe it'll give a new direction for you. Maybe you'll use that later on, because every single time I let people come to me, I've learned a new thing. It's very vulnerable, but it's beautiful. There's growth in there. So in a way, it's very educational. Like I've learned about myself and my limits while writing stories about books. Who knows, right? It's so bizarre, but it's fantastic. So I'm doing lots of. You guys are fantastic. Creative nonfiction journalist article. Oh, thank you. To read that has helped you. So read about nonfiction books. I would recommend Ian Forster's. What's the book's name? I'm so bad. I can't remember this. That's what I studied. The aspect of the novel. Read about turn of the century writers in anywhere in the world. Why? Because they've seen a huge change in the world and they had to adapt to it immediately. So their writing style is all over the place. Every single book they're writing, Evelyn Waugh, Ian Forster, Albert Camus, they write in a very diversified way. So try to read lots of turn of the century, 20th century writers. They're very, again, every time you read, it's a new genre almost. So it's very interesting. I try to read a nonfiction and fiction at the same time to make my mind don't get confused with the storytelling. I need to know what's happening. And I read George Orwell a lot. Harold Bloom's books on creative writing is very essential. At university, they would tell you to read Harold Bloom. Who else? If you're interested in gender studies, please read Laura Bates' Everyday Sexism. You will learn facts. It's a compilation of essays on the things women see every single day. Also, who is the on beauty? Oh my God, I'm so horrified that I'm forgetting all my favorite books. Naomi Wolf, Naomi Wolf's On Beauty, The Myth of Beauty. It's a very old book, but it's about the advertising culture and the political changes in the world according to the feminist movement. So it's about giving women power at the same time, talking about Kardashians, maybe changing their ideas of body, giving and taking at the same time, but doing it in a very advertising mind. So please read whatever you find. And again, what I do is I read best-selling fantasy novels. I read classics at the same time, because I see, if I'm reading, like this happened very recently. I was reading, one of my favorite authors is Evelyn Waugh, a British writer. He wrote mainly about Second World War. I'm obsessed with Second World War stories. So I've read his books back to back for a very long time. And what I've realized that my writing was slipping away, and I started to see him. I said, no, I need to diversify it. So don't stick to one name, one genre, one region, one language. Always try to read as much as you can, because every region has their own way of tackling stories, and it's so beautiful. It's so rich. I love that. So I try to read Turkish as well, because all Turkish books are very difficult in a way that it's very lyrical. Again, you're a storyteller. You're not just stating facts. You need to know how to glorify your writing. And according to the persona that you're taking, the way you're writing, you need to have a certain vocabulary. Who is that person? And what kind of lingo they would use? Is it going to be a snob? Is it going to be a street language? Is it going to be a very American one? Is it going to be a very old school sound? Know that. And if you don't have that, but you want to have it, try to read books that have that kind of language. Maybe you want to sound very old school. Read lots of Charles Dickens. Read lots of Jane Austen's. Have fun. Try to imitate their style. Don't steal it. Try to adapt to your own voice and try to make it to sound natural in the 21st century. Or maybe it's the opposite. I have a friend who writes in a very relaxed, informal way, and it works for her personality, works for her character that she's putting on screen. Find whoever you are, or whoever is your personality, and read about those characters in books. So you're getting some information, getting some inspiration out of them. And again, it's all acting. As long as you know all the facts, the next step is acting. Acting by voice, acting by the script, acting in front of the camera. So learn your phrases and adapt to your personality, because people are there to be entertained. It's an entertainment. It's very academical. It's very respectable. I think it's very important to be able to do what we're doing. But at the end of the day, you need to entertain. You need to put a smile on them, maybe, or get them intrigued on this topic. So act. It's beautiful. It's performing. But do it in a way that you know that you're a vessel and you're doing it for a purpose. It's not for your ego. It's for the story. You think that story deserves that kind of personality and that kind of performance. So always be humble. You're not glorifying yourself. You're glorifying the story. You're making an impactful entrance so that people try to see and learn more about the topic. You're writing lots of wonderful things, and I'm trying to see everything and not really miss talking any. They're just, you guys are, yeah, it's very it's educational what we're doing. It's calming and interactive. That's so true. Naomi Wolf, that's true. Documentaries to watch. Please watch whatever you find on YouTube. I try to watch historical, very specific historical documentaries so that I know more about certain eras, because you can't know everything, but you need to have a bit of an idea. So I always try to read and watch historical documentaries. They're very factual. I feel like I'm listening a lecture. It's really good. And if you're on a special assignment, try to only listen to and watch that region's productions, whatever they are. Immerse yourself in them. If I'm going to talk about, let's say, an African story, I'm not going to do anything else but about Africa and their music and their culture. I need to be there. I need to move everything else so I can do justice to that story. Creative writing, fantastic, you guys. Yes, we can connect. I don't know I mean, you can find me on Instagram. It's 21st Century. I don't know how we can tell you, but I've given the lovely people that they were organizing, I told them that you can give my Instagram. Of course, I'm using it for networking. It's not personal, so of course. The name of the writer who's writing book you wrote. So I referred George Orwell's Why I Write. I said Naomi Wolf on beauty, the myth of beauty. I said Harold Bloom. He has a lot of books on writing. And I said E.M. Forster, aspects of the novel. There you go, I remembered it. Aspects of the novel. If you're writing a longer book, a longer story, learn more about novel writing. Tristan and Shandy, you need to read that. But these are very academical books. If you have Goodreads accounts, go there and try to see if they have good lists. They have fantastic lists on academical writing styles. I usually go through them, just have a look through and sit down, just see. But also try to find, I know lots of websites have them in lists. Read more about literary devices. That helps a lot. Even knowing what means what, like what kind of symbolism that you've used, what is it that you want to say but you don't know the name. Read about, and there are loads of literary devices. Go online, there are lots of student websites and YouTube channels. Read about literary devices. They will help immensely. Yeah, I think that's about it. Any questions, anything else?
Okay, I will open the floor for the audience to interact more with you. Thank you so much, Miss Norsina, for this wonderful and very energetic lecture. And thank you for sharing your story with us. It's always important to learn from different career experiences. And indeed, asking the right questions, it's an important step toward meaningful and effective action in the media as well as other fields. And as you mentioned, academic mind, visual mind, I would like to add also critical mind, are all significant abilities for each professional in his or her domain. So thank you so much again. I am pretty sure that the lecture was very beneficial for people from different backgrounds, not only media students. Now, I would like to open the floor for our audience to ask questions. And I would like to start by Junaid Rafiq. Junaid, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Nursina Hanum, for this amazing kind of presentation and the demonstration skills and the demonstrative expressions you use while presenting your lecture for today. So I have to, could you please hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much. So I have actually two questions, and they are kind of related. So my first question is, how do you assess the scope of audience feedback to avoid any kind of rhetoric and cliches in the storytelling? I hope that's clear.
What do you mean by that?
Well, when you're storytelling, so you often tend, we talk about the critical part of it. So there is the scope of rhetoric and cliches. So I think there should be some kind of, if you have some information on it you want to share, I would be really glad if you could share it with me.
Well,
I hope that's clear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have another question. So is it the content or the storytelling itself the significant part of the whole process that makes your audience attractive?
Sorry?
Is it the content or the storytelling, the process of content making or the process of storytelling, the significant part of doing the whole process of storytelling?
Good question. I love that.
Thank you so much.
So the first one is, I think what you meant by that is how do you decide if you're being a bit cliche or you're coming up something original in your content? I think even cliche has a place and time. Even using that can be a strategic move, but you need to be very careful. You shouldn't sound repetitive. That's why I think it's very important to watch and read your peers in other fields. For instance, I always try to watch what Channel 4 is doing with arts and culture reporting, or BBC Arts, because, well, we're using same agencies, we're using same outlets, so I don't want to sound exactly like them with the same footage too. So I try to see what they're doing. Is it cliche? If so, are they successful? Does it look good on them, or does it look tacky? Because sometimes, even if you're cliche, if you have a good name, if you're established, no one cares. So it's a bit like, it's not really just. You need to know who you are. You need to know what your audience expects you to be. And then again, this is very strategic. Here, it's not about doing the right thing, but doing the smart thing. The other thing is that I love that question. I think all elements should work at the same time, because if one doesn't really work, you have a very mediocre way of telling things, right? If I'm thinking that, oh, the storytelling, the script, the story itself is very important, but I have really bad images, or the message that I want to is not really strong enough, it doesn't work. If you want to still pursue that, try to find a different format. Maybe it doesn't need to be a visual one. Maybe it doesn't need to be on TV. Try to see if you maybe write an article about it. Maybe that's impactful. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe you have fantastic visuals that you want to put forth, but you don't have a really good story. There are different formats to use that as well. Have a bit of fun fact knowledge and put those words on the screen, and maybe use it at the very end of the program to say goodbye. You can say, we're going to leave you with these fantastic footages and very fun facts about, I don't know, what a spoon is made of. I don't know. People are drawn to good images first. That's the first thing. If you don't have strong image, the script will be secondary, I'm afraid, because no one is really listening. It's TV. It's all muted. I always say, this is muted. Imagine that they're not even hearing you. It's muted. And they're in the middle of, I don't know, a waiting room in a dentist. So your visuals need to attract immediately. And then they were like, just, can you turn it on, please? And then they'll listen to you. I hope that was good enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nursina. Next question from Shogofa Danish from Afghanistan.
Hello. Hi, Afghanistan.
Shogofa, can you hear me? Okay. Hello? Hi. Okay, let me move to Nasrullah Taban, also from Afghanistan.
Hello. Remember that's the...
Nasratullah.
Someone, by the way, sent a link of literary devices. I think from Mariam.
Mariam, yes, in the chat
Thank
box.
you. Lovely person. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariam. So I would like to give the floor to Karim. Karim from Egypt and Qatar.
Egypt and Qatar.
Yes.
Is he a time traveler?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello,
Yes,
Karim.
I yes, Egyptian living in Qatar. So yes. What makes a good story is the reason behind the story. It doesn't matter how well it's produced, but if I left the audience with a question, what was the reason for it, then it's felt to be a good story. Thus, should we search for a cause and then try to find a story that matches that cause, or we can find the story first and then try to extract a reason out of it, or like in my case, it comes when it comes a full package, the story with the goal, with everything, and you just work on producing it. And the problem about the last part is it's occasional. When you have this time, it pop-ups and then you have it, but it's not occasionally. Thank you.
What you said is very real. It's just it's what happens every single day. So what I've talked about is the ideal world, what you want to do every day. But you may not be able to do it every day. It's not realistic because one, you don't have the time every day to be able to find that very specific thing. But hopefully that you have enough experience and good eye to find. And alhamdulillah, most of the case, I can find that. But like you said, sometimes there's an email saying, guys, I need a pitch by 3. You're like, oh my God, I don't have time for that. I'm doing something else. So you open a newspaper, an art magazine, and see, would this work? And you make it work because you have experience. You know your storytelling. You know your network. You know your platform. You know your shoulds and shouldn'ts. You know your style guide. So when you're looking things, your brain is already filtering everything, right? You're already like, that won't work, that won't work, that, it's hard work. I'm going to really sweat on that. But it is what it is. It's the reality of work life. It's not all flowers and rainbows every day. You need to be creative. You need to push your limits sometimes. But it doesn't mean that it's shabby work. It means extra work. It means challenge. But you should be able to do that. You're a journalist, you're a storyteller. That's the first thing they teach you at creative writing. They give you, literally, that's what happened to me. And I was so shocked. I didn't expect that. They gave me a leaf of paper and they said, start a story with that. I was like, what? They're like, use your imagination. You're a writer now. You need to be able to do that because you're a writer.
So you move from there's a time for creativity to every time creativity.
I'm sorry, but it is.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I would like to give the floor to Omar Bala from Lebanon.
Lebanon, fantastic place.
Omar?
Hello, Turkey.
We cannot hear you, Omar.
Yeah, we can't.
Unfortunately, we cannot hear Omar. Okay. Let me give the floor to Ahmed Abdi, then I will be back to you, Omar, okay? Okay, Ahmed Abdi from Ethiopia. The floor is yours.
Hi, can you hear me, please?
Yes.
Thank you, Nursina, for your incredible presentation. It was absolutely fantastic, and I really enjoyed every single one of your presentation. I actually have one question, and it's about there are basically so many inspiring stories across the world, everywhere, particularly in Somalia, particularly war-torn countries. Do you have any connection or collaboration with, people producing stories to screen and on your on charity wall or any other place? How do you usually facilitate people trying to reach out to you for stories?
So
That's my
with
question.
that, is that all? Do you have any other question?
That's all my question.
So with that, thankfully, we have a network of people just for that. You can send, I think you can reach us through any any email address that you can find online. But if you have specific showcase arts and culture worthy stories, you can use my email account. I can try to deliver that to our planning producers. So planning producers and news gathering producers, they're in charge of collecting all the pitches and requests, and they deliver to the relevant departments. So I don't necessarily do that, but you can send me your pitches, hopefully, if it's all right with the EP executive producers, and if it's a timely pitch, because sometimes a perfect story comes in a wrong way and it doesn't happen. So I'm sure you can find my email address. I don't know, but if you can't, it's Norsena. Can I write it there? I can. It's so silly that I'm a granny, but I'm in the media sector. I'm so bad with these things. Sorry, guys. So this is my email address. No, that's not Gmail. Fantastic. I don't even know my email. So this is, did I send that?
Could you just share it with everyone? It's written in the chat box.
Yes.
To everyone?
So silly. I did.
Okay, I received. Okay.
Yeah, so that's my email address. Hopefully you'll be able to send. Can you send us Instagram link? How do I do that? So it's my name on Instagram is this. If you can find that, congrats. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. So, Omar, you have the floor.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Fine. So basically, my question is will be like, I work as a video editor. So my problem is I work with editors. They give me some subjects, some stories, and many packages like documentary, economic, anything. My problem is with art editors. Sometimes I have this comment that I can't feel my work in your video editing. So basically, it's like I feel like my emotion and take their emotion and combine it. So do you have any idea how can I do it? How can I explain it? How can I don't know.
So I gather that you're a freelancer, right?
Yes.
First of all, thank you for your hard work. We rely on freelancers on a daily basis, and it's fantastic help. And most of the time, it's really good work. I appreciate what you're doing. So I would suggest to have a chat with them. What I hear is very familiar because we hear similar things from our freelancers, and it's particularly challenging when you're not face to face, when you're not working people in the same space. And I understand that. Try to see what they produce on their maybe social media, what they're trying to promote. Try to see the style they're using there. Try to see what they're proud of. And if that's not the case, talk to them. Like you just said, you can say, I want to help you deliver this emotion, but I don't know how to help you. Can you give me directions? Can you give me editorial guidance? I'm open to suggestions. I am capable of delivering you the style that you want. Because with freelancers on our side, we don't know what you're actually capable of and what we can actually ask for specifically, because we don't know the conditions you're working. We don't know what kind of software that you're using. We don't, I mean, yes, you're giving us all that information, but Planning producers really know that, not the editor. They just see the script. They just see the finished work. So they don't really know what they can ask. So they're very tentative and they don't really want to make a fuss so that you can finish in time. So let them know that what you experience, maybe give them examples in the storytelling, maybe give them short clips in your email. Say, see, this didn't work in my case. I could have done this instead, but I didn't know if you wanted that. Give them examples like visuals, give them what you can do. Maybe send them a link to another work that you've done. That will work. If they know what you're capable of, then they will ask you specific things. And I think that'll be easier for you, inshallah.
Thank you. And now I think Nurhan Gadil Karim from Egypt wants
Yay,
to ask a question.
Hello. I don't have a question. It's more of a like, I'm addressing an issue that I have.
Yes, please, sister.
I don't like reading. I don't like writing. I suck at it. Like, I just lose interest in reading in general, whatever it is. Like, imagine going to a restaurant. When you look at the menu, it's all just words, not pictures. It's so annoying how you can't order food. So for me, in my field in filmmaking, I escape the fact that I have to write and read to study into going to filmmaking studies. But then I realized that we have to write a script. I was like, whatever. Okay, so now I have to. The only way for me to talk about a story or to pitch a story is to write a script. Yeah. When I will just lose interest in my own idea. I just can't. Like, I'm a more learner of when someone talks to me face to face, or like when they show me how to do things, I would learn fast. But when it's written or I have to read it, I will just be like, I can't deal with that. And I close the book and I leave it away. So yeah.
Do that, literally. Do you enjoy listening to other people?
Yeah, I don't mind listening to other people. I find it more. I'm a practical person than a reader. Like, I would, like, I don't know what to. I don't want to sound so wrong, but like, no, I like to
right and wrong.
Be practical.
This is all about how your mind works, and I respect that. We're creative people, and I don't care how it comes to you. If it comes, use that format, channel that. Thank God we're in the 21st century. There is a solution to all of these technical things. If you like listening to podcasts, listen to them. If you like other people telling you things, there are podcasts. But even if that's not the case, do you enjoy watching movies?
In a way, as long as I don't have to read the subtitle.
Yeah, all right. Watch documentaries, watch films. Like I said, read the books. Like I said, remember I said read books that you want to imitate, that you want to draw inspiration from their writing style. You can apply exactly the same thing to movies. Watch the movie that you were really impressed with, and don't watch the movie. See the editorial cuts. When did they start the telling? What is it? Maybe they started with a dialogue. Maybe you can do with your writing. Maybe you don't have to start with a reporting voice. Maybe you can start like a documentary with the subject interview. Maybe they start with that. Watch other mediums. And even that doesn't work for you, I gather that you understand. I'm like that as well. I understand my feelings and my thoughts through talking. I need to talk them out. So whenever I'm stuck, I record voice memos. I'm like, I want to say this, but I don't know what. And then I try to tell the story to the phone, have a talk through, and then forget that you're talking to your phone. Forget that story. Come to that after a break, have a walk, have a snack, and listen to what you've said. Write them down, type them down. Here's your story. You don't have to be didactic. You don't have to be an academic storytelling. Maybe yours is very informal. There is a time and platform for your writing style as well. Don't try to put yourself in a box that you don't belong. You can't do yourself a justice. You can't do your voice a justice. Everyone has a unique style, and that's perfect. We need exactly that. I need to hear your story and your frustrated, maybe lingo. Yeah, tell me that. Because you will have your own audience who thinks like you. So don't try to do things that you don't like. It will not work. Be true to who you are. Be yourself and let them decide you. Let the audience decide if they want to stick with it. It's all right. Like I said, you can't please everyone. This is arts and culture. This is very niche, very subjective. You can't please everyone. Please yourself. Write the way you like. And if you can't, just have a talk. Find a script writer. Tell them, I don't want to write this, but here is my idea. Can you help me with that? Hopefully they will help you. Maybe they'll give you, even at that moment, a couple of sentences from the back of their head, and you're like, oh, that's actually a good lead. And then you sit down. Talk. I hear that you thrive on communication. Communicate. But listen to yourself and others while you're doing it. Here lies your secret to your storytelling. You thrive in that moment. That's all right. That's fine. You can do whatever you like. There's no right or wrong. Yeah, don't do that to yourself. The way you expressed yourself just now was fantastic. I was so curious. I was like, oh, tell me more. So that works. Be yourself. More power to you. Yeah.
Thank you. I hope it would solve my issue, but sure, we'll try. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you. Now it's Naira Salim. You have the floor. I think it's the last question.
Yes, good afternoon, Miss Nursina.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, thank you so much for that very passionately delivered session. I really enjoyed it. My question is a little bit personal. It's more on the content writing. I've been running a personal blog for almost 2 years, and even though I love writing and reading, and I have lots of ideas to what to write in my blog, I couldn't just do it whenever I want. It's like I have to wait for a specific emotion to feel before I could pour in myself. So my first question is like, how do you do that? Like you are producing a content every day, but you are still pursuing your passion with it. Because for me, I just couldn't be passionate at something when I don't have the emotion to carry it with. And the second is when I do produce a content for my blog, I pour everything on me. It's like, I'm giving everything. And I feel like my readers could see through my soul with it. And as much as I feel that is good, I also feel uncomfortable that people, they can see who you are into the piece that you are creating. So how do you balance that, like becoming so subjective and passionate in your content, but living something for you, Thank you.
That's really lovely. I really like those. They're very real struggles. So the first one, how do you do it every day? I believe when you're doing it for a living, when you're doing it for other people, not just for your own pleasure, a sort of a purpose comes to you, a responsibility. You feel like you have to do this. I have to do this. So I always say that under pressure, I thrive. It works for me, but I understand it might not work for everyone, but try to see that you can do it. I'm not saying that, oh, you can do it, just try. No, I'm saying at the back of your head, just tell yourself, it's fine if I can't do it, but the fact is I can. You need a moment of catharsis, You need to release it. And I love that, because it means that whatever you're writing, it's coming from a place of emotion, and it's very personal too, and it's fantastic. But, I think it links to the second question, don't give out so much. Don't give out too much emotion. Don't give out too much exposure of who you are, and don't give out too much fact. Because one, people will lose interest in facts when they're too much, and they will forget, well, what was the story? What was this? I know so many things now, but well, it's a bundle of things. There's no coherence. And if you give so much of yourself, your character, you'll feel exhausted, and you'll feel burnt out, and you don't want that. You need to give very little, very regularly, so that the machine works. Don't do it too much. Don't give everything out. Just tease them, tease yourself, so that you're doing it every single day. And if still you can't do it every day, have a chat with whoever is giving you all these assignments, and say, well, I believe that I'm skilled, but I might need, because this is very personal for me, I might need an extra time for this. I was wondering if that was a possibility. I'm just asking. I'm fully capable of delivering it on time, but it would be fantastic for my work and storytelling if I had extra time. So have a talk with them, communicate your feelings, because hopefully your superiors will see what's happening there. It's not that you're lazy, it's not that you're slacking, it's because you're passionate, you want to give out the best you can. But don't try to do that every single time. Try to do what's necessary for the story. Sometimes you need to omit facts for the sake of the storytelling. Sometimes that's necessary. When you know so much about a topic, you want other people to know everything. No, it's not necessary. But if you give them just enough, maybe they will come back for more. Maybe then you'll tell them the next chapter. Maybe it'll happen that way. You can't do it all at once, because you didn't learn everything all at once. It happened over time. So give your story a time, a breathe. Don't rush. If you need time, take a break. Don't push it. That's called, I believe, writer's block. You're experiencing a writer's block. And what you need to do, you need to stay out of it, have a break, clear your mind, and hopefully it'll come to you. If not, communicate this with your superiors.
Thank you so much, Ms. Nursina. I think we came to the end of this session.
Yeah.
Thank you for this amazing and fantastic session. We highly appreciate, and we are looking forward to having you in other programs, inshallah. And we are very pleased to cooperate with TRT World experts who contributed constructively to the contents of this program. Thank you so much.
Thank you for giving me the chance.
Thank you, our pleasure. Dear participants, thank you for your participation and very nice questions. We are looking forward to see you soon, inshallah. And thank you to all my colleagues who are supporting us in the technical team. And see you soon. Assalamu alaikum.